Thanks so much for coming to the graduation planning workshop. This is actually the first time we're doing it, so we're really excited. I'm putting a link in the chat. So if everyone can look at the link in the chat, this is going to be for your attendance so that your BA 102 instructor knows that you're here. So it's just like your name and your email address. So if you want to take just a couple minutes to go ahead and fill that out real quick so we know you joined us. And while you do that, we're just going to do some introductions. So I'm Janet Wishman. So I am a business advisor. So some of you are my students. Yay, super excited. And I'm coming to you from near the Portland area. So kind of southeast, southwest of Pullman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca. I'm also a business advisor. I advise all the business majors and data analytics as well, different degree. I am now located in Colorado, which is really exciting for me to move back to be near my folks, which is awesome because you all know how it is to be near family. It's just really, really special times with the grandparents. But I did live in Pullman for about almost 5 years. So I know the campus well and I get to hear, I love like hearing campus noises in Zoom meetings with my colleagues. Like be it like the marching band, I was always practicing outside my window. Or just the creaky stairs of Van Doren Hall. So, yep, so that's me. Nice to see you all.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chrissy Kincaid. I'm the Assistant Director of Academic Advising for the Global Campus, and I get to work with these awesome folks every day. And I supervise the advisors for the College of Business, but I also advise for economic sciences and data analytics. And tonight I am talking to you from a farmhouse in between Pullman, Washington and Colfax, Washington. So I'm about 8 miles out of town from the Pullman campus. And we've all been working from home due to COVID. And so, you know, get to spend more time with one of my kids and a dog and that sort of thing. So we're really excited to have you all here tonight. And hopefully this will be very helpful to you, not only for your BA 102 class, but also for your future grad planning as you're working your way through the program. So now I'm going to turn things over to Janet to get us started.
Awesome. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that slide came up. Awesome. So today we're going to talk about how to create a long-term graduation plan, including what resources you need in order to create a viable plan of graduation. So hopefully you guys are all aware, we have these wacky 7-week sessions. We have major classes that are only offered once a year. And so it does become a little bit difficult to navigate if you don't have a viable plan. So the idea is that we're going to give you some tools today to work on that plan. And then we want you to do your homework and work on a plan yourself and then connect with your advisor who will help you fine tune it. Of course, it's a working plan, so we know that plans change. So just make sure that if you do ever end up not being able to take the classes that you have listed, that you do check in with your advisor and we can help you, make good decisions about adjusting it or, redo the whole thing if we need to. Okay, Rebecca did put a downloadable handout in the chat. This is the same handout that you got via email. So if you've already downloaded, if you already have it on the computer, it's going to be the exact same thing. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about best practices in this main session, and then we're going to have breakout rooms for majors. So Chrissy's going to take HBM students, Rebecca's going to take accounting students, and then I'm going to take management, MIS, and marketing students. And so we will show you some examples for those majors in breakout rooms a little later. Awesome. So you should have the graduation planning handout that we sent you. You should have a template, a graduation planning template that we sent you. It's also in the chat now. And you should also have a graduation planning template from your BA 102 instructor. You can use either template. It's completely fine to use either one. The one that we provided you does have those 7-week courses partitioned out. So hopefully that just makes life easier, but whatever format that you need to use is completely fine to use. Okay. So we do have 4 main tools in creating our plan. And so the first one is going to be your academic requirements report. So if you look at the slide here, this will talk you through how to find your academic requirements report. This is going to be really important because this is going to be your official audit as far as the university is concerned. So when it's graduation time, this is the audit that graduations is going to look at. So it's really important that you start using it. We understand that it's confusing, but the more you use it, the more it will make sense. So chances are, if you look at it today, you're going to be real confused. There's going to be a lot of moving pieces. It's okay. Just use it, ask questions as you go. And the really great thing about the audit is that when you start completing things, you'll see those sections collapse down. So it's a really nice visual once you start completing areas. So in order to get your academic requirements report, go to your student homepage in MyWSU. You're going to click on the academic advising tile, and then you're going to select academic progress. Okay. Chrissy, can you flip to the next slide, please? And so once you get your academic requirements report open, that's going to be over here on the left-hand side. Sorry, I get confused on my right and left, just like my east and west, apparently. When your academic requirements report is opened, you'll see a few things. The one that I want to draw your attention to first is going to be the view report is PDF, which is that first circle there. So you can pull it up as a PDF, which is really nice because it's a very nice printable version. I highly encourage that you print it out, that you mark it up, you write questions, you highlight things. That's actually how I learned to read academic requirements reports when I first started in this system. So it's super useful to print that up. And then if you look at the bottom example there, it's just an example of the writing. So when you have a course requirement satisfied, it will show satisfied. And then it will show what course you took. So you'll see here, writing is satisfied with English 101. Under the grade, you'll see a TA, so the T means transfer. So that just means that this is a transfer course.
All right. So the second tool that you all are going to use to create your long-term plan is your academic planning worksheet. And when all of you started at WSU, you were mailed an academic planning worksheet as a part of your initial welcome packet by the advising staff. I often will tell students it's really easy to lose track of this in your email and have it get lost. So I usually just tell students, hey, you know, when you are first starting out, you might just want to save this to your desktop, so you just have it as a handy reference. This is a manual entry document that we start you out with. And so what Janet was just talking about in the academic progress report is going to be what is actually used to officially clear you for graduation. So, you know, as we move on through the semesters, that's what we're going to want you to be looking at, you know, all the time. But this is a much easier way to just kind of see a list of classes. This just shows things in a much more condensed and sort of global campus specific way. And as you can see, you know, the top part of the planning worksheet refers to the university core requirements. If you needed to take the math placement exam or the writing exam, we have that over on the right. And then as you scroll down through this planning worksheet, you see spots that are available for the writing portfolio, the portion of the amplifier program that you have to complete, etc. So keep in mind that your Excel document includes classes that are typically offered on the global campus, but the academic requirements report in MyWSU includes all of the lists of classes that might fulfill a specific requirement, even if global campus doesn't offer those courses. So if you compare your planning worksheet to your academic requirement report in MyWSU, you should be able to take note of the remaining requirements and highlight those. So this will give you an up-to-date and highly accurate list of remaining courses needed. And we recommend just doing this as a follow-up every semester once you've had a chance to meet with your advisor and before the semester gets underway. So for example, I'm going to use the Roots course, which is listed there at the very top left, Roots of Contemporary Issues. So for example, that requirement shows a 3 in the credit needed column. So that means that you need 3 credits of a roots class. So that credit is, or that course is 3 credit course. And you'll also see over on the right on your academic requirements report that roots also shows there as not being satisfied because you just haven't taken the course yet. Okay. So let's move on to the next screen here. You're also going to notice that prerequisites are included. Whoops, let me go back to that one. That prerequisites are included on the worksheet, but prerequisites can and do change. And so we recommend double checking the prerequisites in the WSU catalog. The WSU catalog is updated every year with any changes that were passed by the Faculty Senate. And so while we try and make sure that you're aware of all the prereqs, the catalog is the most up-to-date and official record of where the prereqs are, or what the prereqs are. And so on the screen, we're going to show you how to find the classes that you're looking for. So I just want to emphasize these sections here in the catalog where you can go to either academic units or courses. Academic units is going to refer to like the College of Business and the various majors, and then courses, of course, let's say you wanted to see all of the courses in economics or econs, or all of the courses under the BA prefix. If you click on courses in the WSU catalog, you can then pull up all the courses under a specific prefix. And then here's where you can pull up a list of courses by subject and number. And so, for instance, I was just talking about finding the courses under a specific prefix. So if you put in BA, you can search for just a single course like BA 102. If you don't enter the 102 in that right-hand box, then it'll just simply pull up a list of all courses under the BA prefix. And then you can see here where we've highlighted for BA 102, what are the course prerequisites? And so we've listed those out there for you. Note that in these prerequisite lists that semicolons typically mean and commas mean or. So for example, for BA 102, it requires the completion of BA 100 and Math 201 or another equivalent math course. So hopefully that makes sense. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca.
All right, so the final resource you need to really do a solid planned graduation is access to the major course rotation. So and just a side note, those major courses that I'm referring to would be, for instance, your marketing classes if you're a marketing major, or your accounting classes if you're an accounting major. So typically upper division. The major course rotation is a list or document containing when the upper division courses in your major are typically offered. You can find this information on your academic planning worksheet, like Chrissy was showing you, or the most up-to-date rotation will always be on our website, okay? And that is the online.wsu.edu online degrees page, okay? And Chrissy, if you could move it to the next slide, I think there's a screenshot of that. Yeah, so there's the URL. So you do have to go in a page or two, okay? So if you go to the online.wsu.edu, and then you can click on online degrees, and then you'll go into the business degree, and then you can go into your specific major, okay? Scroll down and you'll find this program of studies area. The program of study area has all of the requirements of the degree, and what we're looking for specifically here is those accounting core requirements and course rotation. That's what it says. And if you pop that open, you'll see this handy chart where you've got each major course listed and then when it's typically offered. So accounting 330 typically offered in the second 7 weeks of summer and the first 7 weeks of fall. Okay, so you can refer to that chart, and kind of like prereqs, like Christy was talking about, prereqs can change. The course rotation can change too. So you might want to check it, once a semester, especially when you're making your plan, and then again, in the next couple semesters. And that way you'll know exactly when we're expecting those courses to be offered. In the accounting major, I just want to point out here, the accounting 330 is offered in fall and is the prereq to accounting 331 and 433, which you'll see are both offered in spring. Accounting 433 is the prerequisite to accounting 439, which you'll notice is offered in fall. So this rotation is really going to be your backbone of your plan. Okay, so it sort of controls everything else. It's the main structure of your plan. All right, so now at this point, you need to just decide how you want to create your plan, right? How you want to type it up. We recommend that you use either the format that your instructor provided in your BA 102 class or another electronic format that's easy to save and edit. So I think editing is key here, right? We're probably going to be going back to it and adjusting it, and that's totally okay, but we definitely want it in a version that we can revisit. You should have received the PDF version via email prior to the webinar today. And that does have these spaces for the 7-week sessions, which I really like. So an early and late 7 weeks, which helps us sort of create a more balanced schedule when we're planning this out, right? Because you're going to kind of think about, is this in the first 7 weeks or the second 7 weeks, which will help us plan things out. On average, a 7-week course is about 15 to 20 hours minimum of work per week, while a 16-week course is about 10 to 12 hours minimum work per week. So if you're taking 4 classes per semester, you should plan on investing a minimum of about 40 to 50 hours per week towards your academics, and you want to plan accordingly in your grad plan, okay? So if you're a student that really wants more of 30 hours per week, for instance, you wouldn't want to plug in five classes, right? That's going to be way more than 30 hours a week. All the business courses will be 7 weeks in length, and the additional College of Business requirements, like the UCOR classes that are required for all degrees, are typically about 16 weeks in spring or fall and 12 or 6 weeks in summer. We advise taking no more than 2 7-week courses at a time, okay? Of course, I do have students who will occasionally take 3, but in general, we just advise just 2 7-week courses at a time to keep that workload manageable. There are a few specific prerequisite situations I'd like to point out. You'll notice that Management 491 will be at the end of the degree in most situations, and that is because of its extensive prereqs. So when you're making your plan, that's one that you can just automatically kind of pop into that final semester. Keep in mind that the business core classes like Finance 325, Management Ops 340 have some really hefty prereqs, such as Math 202 and Management Ops 215. So that right there kind of starts to set things up for you. You've got to have that Math 202 towards the front, which is always, always a challenge right off the bat. And then you're going to need that Management Ops 215 towards the front, so that you can then take that business core, like Finance 325, Management Ops 340, and then your Management 491, right? So we're kind of seeing the trajectory here. Once you've finished your long-term plan, you're welcome to email it to your advisor with any questions or concerns. Your advisor can help you identify any problems or issues like a prereq that you might have missed when you were making the plan. I think that's what I see most commonly, or any other questions that might need to be addressed. Okay, so again, I'd really encourage you. I actually love it when students send me plans because it really opens up a great conversation, right? And it helps them, not only are every semester from then on, they're going to be so much better prepared than they would have if they hadn't tried the plan themselves. So that's all I have on planning. I think it's back to you, Chrissy.
Well, just to kind of add to what Rebecca said, yeah, I love when students send me plans, even if they're terrible. So please don't feel embarrassed if you don't think it's great, if you're not sure it's right. Honestly, just going through the process of creating it is really what we're looking for. And you'll probably miss something. Something will be wrong with it. Don't be embarrassed. Like,
Yeah.
that's why we're here.
Yeah, definitely.
So before we move on, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what Rebecca and Janet said, that also we've given you a lot of information in a short period of time tonight. And we are going to spend a little bit of time here now going into some breakout rooms to do some sample plans. But if after you've done all this and you're working on your assignment and you get confused or you have questions, you're always able to email your advisor or set up a phone appointment. We really want to help you with this and don't want you to feel confused or like you have lingering questions once this is done, okay? So anyway, now that we have talked through some of the tools that you can use and some basic steps to creating your long-term plan, we're going to break into some small groups by major, and we're going to do some more practice in creating a long-term plan for you. So please select the correct breakout room from the screen, and you will automatically be redirected into that room. And Janet is going to be leading a small group session for management information systems and marketing. And Rebecca is going to be leading a small group breakout room for accounting. And I'm going to be staying in this main room. And if you are a hospitality business management major, you can just stay here in this main room with me, and we'll work on your plan with you. So if you have questions about where to go, please feel free to stay in the main room and I can help direct you. But otherwise, feel free to jump into the breakout room now that's appropriate for your major. Okay, so as I shared earlier, my name is Chrissy and I supervise the College of Business Advisors, and we're going to talk a little bit about planning your hospitality business management degree. So today we're going to use just an average student as an example. So your courses may not look exactly like this, but hopefully you'll pick up some themes and best practices that are going to help you create a graduation plan. And then once you actually create your plan, you'll send it to your advisor, and they're going to help make some adjustments and or recommendations, okay? So I'm going to just share my screen here. And so here is our example, student Butch T. Cougar. Here's the name. This is where your name will go. This is where your ID number is. And so Butch is pursuing a Bachelor of Arts in Hospitality Business Management. Butch has a transferable degree, and so he has met all of his university core requirements, which are listed here at the top of the planning worksheet, by finishing a DTA that he transferred in. And so instead of having any courses or credits needed listed here, we are showing that Butch T. Cougar fulfilled all of his requirements because he had a transferable DTA, except for the capstone, and that's a part of the other degree requirements. As we kind of scroll down, we'll also want to note that Butch T. Cougar has completed BA 100 and HBM 101 and is currently enrolled this semester in BA 102. So he's completing his graduation plan as part of his BA 102 course requirements. So I believe that most of you are probably enrolled in BA 102, and that's why you're here and are attending this webinar to help with your degree planning assignment. So in this example, and we'll use this little key over here, the courses in bright yellow are Butch's current term enrollment. So for this term or this spring, Butch is taking Math 201, Econ 101, BA 102, and Business Law 210. So I color-coded the remaining requirements to help us prioritize the courses as we build them into the plan. So all of these courses here listed in green and noted over here in our little key are courses that meet prerequisites requirements for higher courses. So these are first priority courses. That's why they're in green. And we want to work these courses into our planning worksheet just as soon as possible. Do note that we have listed here when these courses are offered. So some are offered during the first session of the semester and they're 7 weeks long, and some are offered during the second session. We've also listed over here in this prerequisite column, what are the prereqs to the courses? So that will help you organize them in the order in which you should take them according to the prereqs. The courses in pale yellow, right here, are core HBM course requirements that you have to complete in order to graduate. Now, most of those courses are only offered once a year, unlike all of the courses in green, which are offered every semester. So we want to be really mindful of where we place all these courses that are listed in pale yellow into the plan. And then the blue courses are the third priority. These are additional business courses that you can take. Most of them offered every semester, some of the electives, not so much, maybe once a year. These are additional business courses and major requirements that you need to complete in order to complete your degree. And then last but not least, we have these courses down here that are in light purple. These are the last priority in your graduation planning. These are non-business courses that are degree requirements. Some of them have flexibility and are offered every single semester. Some of these are also offered during the summer in 6 or 8 week sessions, and that can help us also balance out our course load. So in general, these courses are pretty easy to find, and at least one, I guess what I want to say is there's several courses for the additional college social sciences or humanities that are available every single semester that can fulfill these requirements. And then for comm proficiency, comm 102 or HD 205 are offered every single semester, as is English 402. And then we have lots of College of Business approved non-business international experience courses. So there's not really ever going to be a time where there just wouldn't be anything available unless, of course, you were trying to register at the very last second before the semester started. So you should know by now that all of your business courses are going to be 7-week courses, and anything that's non-business, including your econ requirement, are going to be 16-week courses. And now I'm going to pull up the semester by semester plan. So hang on just a second. Let me get that over here. So here is the semester by semester plan, and this is very similar to the plan that you were given in your BA 102 class. We modified it a bit to make sure that we added space for the early and late 7-week courses that are only unique to the global campus. If you were taking business courses on the Pullman campus, the courses would be a full semester long, but for the global campus, all business courses are going to be 7 weeks, and they'll be either early or late. So that's why this is a little bit different than that plan that you may have received from your instructor for BA 102. And this is a planning format that I like to use because it breaks out the 7-week and the 16-week courses. So you don't have to use this format, but make sure that you are identifying your early and late sessions on whatever document it is that you choose to use. And there is a blank example of this in the graduation planning packet. And then the first thing that I like to do with a new plan is to identify a projected graduation semester. So let me just get to that. So like, for instance, you could put your year in here, and then when you think it is that you're going to be admitted to the major. So for instance, if you're taking BA 102 as one of your classes right here, and this is the spring of 2021, at the end of the semester, when you've completed that class, you're going to be admitted to the major. And then you want to start thinking about what is your projected graduation semester. And so the reason that we want to look at that is to try and determine that things like your capstone that have many prerequisites are in the appropriate semester, which is usually either the second to the last semester or the last semester before you graduate. So for example, If a student has 90 credits left to complete their program, and they're planning to attend full-time, which is 12 credits per semester, that's going to be 90 credits divided by 12, and that ends up giving you a 7.5 semester time frame in which to complete your degree requirements. And since you get a fraction, 7.5, you're going to have to decide if you want to overload some semesters and try to graduate in 7 semesters, or if you want to take a few semesters with a lesser load and graduate in 8. So I know in this particular case, because Butch has told me, that he cannot overload. So we're going to try and stretch this program out to 8 semesters. So based on this calculation, I have identified his final semester as the summer of 2023. And then you could go ahead and then note that on your plans. So for instance, if this is the spring of 21 right here, and then you could, and you're planning on taking courses in the summer terms as well as the fall, you could do spring, summer, fall of 21, spring, summer, fall of 22, spring, summer, fall of 23, etc. So we've identified that Butch's final semester is going to be the spring of 2023, which would be right here, and we could go ahead and have you note that. We also want to make sure that we identify the semester that Butch is going to be admitted into his major. And so remember, unless you were directly admitted into your major when you first transferred, you're going to have to meet some amplifier requirements to be admitted. And this will either be the Tier 1 requirements or the Crimson Pathway 1, depending on how many credits, if any, that you transferred. And so we do make note of that. And let me pull this planning worksheet back up. Right here, you can see that because Butch was a transfer student with more than 30 credits, Butch is going to be doing the Crimson Pathway, and he's going to have at least part of that Crimson Pathway done in order to be admitted to the major when the BA 102 class is complete. And so if Butch is planning to be admitted into his major at the end of the spring semester, we could just go ahead and note that on the plan that you're working on for BA 102. And let me pull that back up. And so you could go ahead and just put that you were going to be admitted right in here between spring 21 and summer of 21. So anyway, that's really the basics of working out your long-term academic plan. The nice thing about these planning worksheets is that if you end up having to take a semester off, for instance, or something happens, or you fall ill, or just need a semester or 2 off for work-related things, you can always modify this plan to stretch it out to either take more time in order for you to graduate, or sometimes, like during COVID, a lot of students decided that they were able to complete more classes because they were home more. And so some students went ahead and altered their plans to ramp up their the amount of courses that they were taking in order to complete their degree a bit earlier. So there's lots of flexibility to these plans. As advisors, we're here to help. And so we want to make sure that you tap into that as a resource. Contact us if you need help, or if there's anything we can do to help you complete your plans. So with that, I will open it up to questions. I'm going to stop recording here for a moment.
So we're going to hit record, and I'm going to share my screen. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of help you build or show you how to build kind of a generic plan, and then it will work for both the management courses and the marketing courses. So I'm going to build it in such a way that we can just swap out the major courses. It will not necessarily be what your plan looks like, but the biggest thing is just kind of going through some best practices. So that's kind of what we'll talk through, is some best practices. If you have questions or need like clarification on anything that I say, please don't use the chat, just unmute and give me a shout out, just because there's no other moderators in here, so I won't read the chats. If it's something specific to you, I would like for you to save those conversations for your advisor. You know, I don't want you to tell me that, oh, you know, I failed business law, what do I do here? You know, we don't need to get into those specifics because we want to make sure that your information is not broadcast to everyone. So awesome. So this is the academic planning worksheet. So this is Butch T. Cougar. And what I tried to do is kind of build an average student, which is kind of funny to say, I think, for Global Campus, because we don't really have average students. We have all kinds of students who have all kinds of different credits. But this particular student has a transfer degree. So all of the UCOR courses are completed. They have an ALEX score of 65, so they're currently in their Math 201. They've got about 60 transfer credits, and they don't have any WSU credits yet, which is not, it doesn't matter either way for kind of our conversation here today. And this particular student is enrolled in BA 102, as all of you are, as well as Math 201, Economics, Business Law, and Accounting. So these yellow highlighted courses are going to be the current courses that Butch is enrolled in this semester. Okay. So the first thing that I like to do is kind of prioritize our courses. And I have, if I could find it, maybe this is it. Can you see this second Word document that I pulled up? Okay. So this is kind of the process that I go through, and I call this grad planning with Janet best practices. Every advisor does it a little different. So your advisor might tell you something different, and that's completely fine. We just all build things a little differently. I would also encourage you that when the recording is available, that you go ahead and watch all of the examples, because, you know, Chrissy might say something or Rebecca might say something in how they build their plans that is more in line with the way that you think. So just because I do it one way, it does not mean that's the correct way to do it. It just happens to be the way that my brain compartmentalizes information. Okay. So the first thing I like to do is determine the graduation date and then kind of work backwards. And then I can kind of see what that end goal is. And we'll use that in building our plan. So for Butch, he has 86 credits. And so I just divided that by 12 credits because Butch is going to be a full-time student. I come up with 7.16, which is about 7 semesters. So with those 1 credit classes and Management Ops 215 is a 4 credit class, it kind of skews the numbers a little bit. But this is about 7 semesters, so that's what we're going to go with. So I'm going to use an Excel version of a graduation plan. This is basically the exact same information that's in the templates that you have. But I just find it easier on the fly to use this version, which is the only reason I'm using this version versus the PDF. So for Butch, we're going to mark spring of 23 as his graduation semester. So I'm just going to put a note here, graduation, so that we know. Okay, so spring of 23 is graduation. So after that, we're going to identify what the admissions term is. So what semester you'll be admitting to the major. So in order to admit to the major, you need your first level math, you need your economics, BA 100, which you should have all already done, HBM 101, and then BA 102. So for this particular student, he will be admitting to the major after spring 21. The reason that's important is because some courses will have prerequisites of admissions to major. So if you're not ready to admit to the major after spring, you want to make sure you don't build anything in summer that requires admissions to the major. Okay. It's also important to remember that you do have amplifier requirements that are part of that admissions requirement. So if you're a Crimson Pathway student, you have to finish Crimson Pathway 1. If you're what we call a tiered student, you have to finish tier 1 in order to admit. Okay. And if you have questions about that, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that tonight, but reach out to your advisor if you're not sure, you know, which version of the amplifier you have to do or where you're at with it. They can kind of help you talk through that. Okay. All right, so we've identified our admissions term, so then we want to prioritize our remaining courses. So this is the way that I prioritize them. I'm going to bring this over here. So first priority, I've got kind of in this green section, and actually first priority is going to be your admissions requirements, but we've already tackled those, so I'm not going to worry about, talking about that too much. The remaining lower division business requirements are going to be the next priority that this student's going to work on, because these are going to be prerequisites to the higher courses. So it's important, like Rebecca was saying, finance and management ops 340, they have a lot of prerequisites. So we want to make sure that we get through these fairly quickly. After that, the next priority is going to be your major courses. So I've got those in light yellow here. After that, we're going to look at your business core courses, and the absolute last priority are going to be these additional College of Business requirements. And also, if you have any UCore requirements, those will be last priority as well. So I just call those schedule filler, because they're required for graduation, but they're not going to be prerequisites to anything else. So we don't stress out about them. We put them in as we can, and even if we have to stack a whole bunch at the end, it's completely fine. Okay, so that's what we're doing as far as prioritizing courses. And the other thing to remember is summer. So summer, you've probably heard me say this, summer's kind of a strange beast around here. So normally the semesters are 16 weeks. In summer, the semester is 12 weeks. But in addition to business 7-week classes, there are also short summer courses. So for instance, you can usually find social science or humanities courses in these 6-week sessions. You can usually find HD 205 if you need your communication, or if you need your communications proficiency. You can usually find a non-business international experience here as well. So summer is a really good opportunity for using those short courses to balance your schedule if you have an odd number of business courses, or if you have like sometimes too many late session courses and not enough early session course. So just kind of keep those in your pocket as summer classes to help balance your schedule. The other thing to remember about summer is that every major has some courses, or at least one course, that must be taken in the summer and is only offered summer semester. So especially if you're using financial aid, you want to keep that in mind. Summer is not automatically built into your financial aid package. So if you already know you're going summer full time, have those conversations with financial aid. If you can only take one course one summer semester, that's fine. We can figure out where to put it, but make sure that you plan on that for financial reasons. We don't want surprises when it comes to money. Okay. All right, so going from here, we're just going to work on building our plan. And if you give me just a sec. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we've already built in the plan spring 21, so we don't have to worry about those. So we're just going to kind of move on from there. So again, we're going to be looking at these green courses as kind of our next priority of courses. I really like students to go right on with their math course because moving from like pre-calculus to calculus, if you take a break, it doesn't do you any favors. You don't learn more while you're taking a break. In fact, you forget lots of things. So we'll just put the math there. The other course I'd like you to take right away is your BA 212. This BA 212 class, it doesn't have very many prerequisites, but it's the prerequisite to your statistics class, which is going to then be the prereq to your finance and your management ops 340. So we'll build that in sooner than later. I'm going to also put the marketing course here because it's going to work better for our marketing majors later. Marketing 360, which only has a prerequisite of junior standing. So if you're junior already, even if you're working on these prerequisites, these lower courses, you can work the marketing course in. Okay. And I'm also going to put economics 102 here. Now this student's in accounting 230. So we want to take accounting 231 sooner than later, but the BA 212 for this student is going to be more important. So in this case, I would have them wait one semester and put the accounting 231 here. If you have a choice and also have space for the 231, like I said, it makes sense to take it right after that first class. Okay, but we just have to prioritize. All right, so accounting 231's there. I'm going to work on the rest of these lower division courses. And so we're going to put in management ops 215, which is a 4-credit class. anytime I have a class that's not the typical 3 credit, I like to put those credits in just so I don't get confused. And then we'll finish out the remaining lower division courses there. And so that takes care of basically all of everything from here up is going to be taken care of now. Okay. Now BA 211 does have a prerequisite of admissions to major, but none of the summer courses have a requirement of admissions to major. And I do like to do that if I can, as well, because if for some reason after spring you're not able to admit, it gives you kind of a buffer semester. So kind of think about that as well, whether you're or not you'll be able to admit right after spring and what that means for your remaining courses. Okay. So then we're going to jump down to our major courses. And so for the management major, I'm going to fill this out for a human resources major, but I'll talk about how to swap out courses for an innovation and change major if you're in that major. So management 401, 485, management and operations 470, and then you have your 3 HR classes. So you've got HR management and then your hiring and compensation courses. And so these courses are spring courses. So you'll see these notes on this planning worksheet as well. So your upper HR courses are spring classes. Your 401 and 485 are going to be fall classes. Management Ops 470 is a summer class. And then 450 is actually offered every semester in a late 7-week session. So we'll go build these guys in. Let me see if I can remember. So summer, Management Ops 470. Fall 1 is Management 485. Fall 2 is Management 401. And then your spring 1 and 2 are Management 455 and 456. Now this is going to take you guys a lot longer than it takes me. So just remember that and don't feel discouraged if you have to go back and forth between this page and your course rotation and your course descriptions. I'm just used to working with these, and so I can get through them pretty quickly. So don't be discouraged if you can't get through it real quick. So I've got those 5 in, and then I'm just going to build in the Management 450 here. We might move it, but this will put it before these 2. It will put it before the negotiation skills course as well, even though it's not a prerequisite. I think having an HR course before negotiations is helpful as well. Okay. So then that takes care of all of your major requirements. Now, if this student were an innovation and change student, I think Jordan said he was an innovation and change student, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jordan, for you, those innovation and change classes are offered in the spring. So you can take Management 483, which is Management of Innovation and Change, in the first half. And then depending on what you choose for your second INC course, I really like this Entrepreneurship 489. 1, because it pairs nicely. It's a spring 2 course. 2, it doesn't have a lot of prerequisites. If you choose to take the Global E-commerce, which is the 441 instead, that's a summer class. So just make sure that you keep that in mind. And if you want MIS 420 Business Intelligence, that has a ton of prerequisites of other MIS classes. So discuss that with me if that's something you want to work in, and we'll have to figure out how to make that work. Okay. So then we're going to go on to our blue courses here, which are our business core and then our elective, and we're just going to build those in. So we already have the marketing, so that's already accounted for. We'll do finance and we'll do iBusiness here. I like to do the iBusiness sooner than later because it's a prerequisite to global e-commerce. So if that's a course that you want to take as an elective, building the iBusiness in first is going to give you an option to take that course. And then I'm going to put the Management Ops 340 here. Okay. And then we have, for HR, we only have 1 upper division business elective because we do have 3 major courses here in the track. If this were an innovation and change student, they would have 1 less class in the track and they would have 2 electives. But for this student, they only need 1 elective and it must be an international experience course. So keep an eye out for this and how you're going to meet your international experience requirement. So for this student, I'm going to put the upper division business here, UD business / IER. So now I know that spring 2, We've got a couple of international courses. We have international management as well as international marketing. So I'll put that in the late half. You'll find that the international experience courses, most of them are in the second half of the semester. The exception being MIS 441, which is a summer 1 course. And also there's an economics class, Econ 327, which is a full 16-week class. So normally econ classes don't count, but that is an exception. So if you do need a 16-week class to balance things out, that might be a good one to look at as well. Okay. And then my final core class, which is Management 491, which is going to be that capstone course, is going to go here. Okay. So that takes us all the way through here. We've got everything accounted for except for this very last kind of tier of courses. And the nice thing is these can really go anywhere. And so looking at our plan, we're going to find the gaps. So I have one gap here, and I'm going to put a social science or humanities here. Like I was telling you before, summer classes, you're going to get some of those 6-week classes available. So you should have something you can use as a social science or humanity, or you can put a non-business international experience here. Okay, and then remaining, we've got another social science or humanity and a communications proficiency. So I'll just put these here. And you don't have to identify the course because there are lots. So you can just kind of decide on the fly. And then for communications proficiency, it's COM 102 or HD 205. The HD 205 is a 4-credit class. So I just put that in there as well. So we know. And then these are your final 2, your English 402, and then your non-business international course. And those will go here because these are offered every semester. Oops. Okay, and so we just go back and check. So what I'd like to do is I count. So if you're one of my advisees, sometimes you'll hear me counting under my breath. And the reason I do this is just to double check. So we've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, and there's 5 here. So 29 total courses, which is what I got. So that's a good way to just kind of double check, is to count through. So this is a good plan for this student, and you'll look, all of the semesters are very evenly distributed. Now, you could potentially, move things around, like, you can move maybe the finance and the iBusiness here, and then these 2 over here if you wanted to do all 7-week and all 16-week. So there's a lot of options, but this is kind of what I've come up with. The other thing I like to do when I make my plan for myself, and you'll sometimes see me do this, is highlight the major classes. So if I know these are classes that are only offered once a year, sometimes I'll just, put them in a certain color, and I'll say only offered once a year. And that way I remember that those are non-negotiable spaces. Okay. So that is a management plan with a graduation date of spring 23. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a copy of this. See if I could do it. Okay, and then we'll move on to the marketing. So let's see. So all we're going to change on the marketing. So again, the same student, same courses that they've already completed. So the only difference between a management major and a marketing major comes in the major requirements. So everything else is the same. So for this student, we're going to use basically the exact same framework. And then I'm going to take out the major classes. And then I'm going to build in the marketing classes, and I'll show you how to do that. Let's see. Okay. And so again, one of the reasons I put this Marketing 360 very early is because for the marketing major, that basically opens up all those other marketing courses. So for the marketing major, you've got Marketing 368, which is a spring 1. The other spring course is going to be iBusiness 482. So let me put those here. And we may move some of these around, but we'll just do this to start. 482. And you've got consumer behavior, which is 401, and marketing management in the summer. So 407, I think I might have said 401. Marketing 490, oops, 495. Apparently also a terrible typer. All right, and then which one am I missing? Promotions management, which is 477. Marketing 477. And then the last course, this last space, remember for our example of the HR student, how I said they had one less elective. So this actually just turns into an upper division business elective for the marketing student. And so for this marketing student, what I probably would do is move these two marketing classes up to spring. The reason that I would do that is because Marketing 495, Marketing Management, the only prerequisite is senior standing and Marketing 360. However, the prereq used to be, or not the prerequisite, but recommended preparation used to be basically all of the other marketing classes. And so because of that, I do like to, I'm not able to click on anything. Okay. So because of that, I do like to move it earlier than later if possible. If we couldn't move it there, it would be completely fine, but I'll move those here. And then I'll just take these and then move those to spring of 23. So same balanced course load. It's just, I just moved those marketing courses up 1 year. Great, so now we've gone through management and we've gone through marketing. So the only degree left is going to be your management information systems degree. So again, it's the same student, same courses completed, same current courses. And again, the only difference between this MIS student and a management or marketing student are going to be the major classes. So we're going to take the same plan that we've already worked on. And we're just going to take all of these major courses from the management and we're going to swap them out with our MIS courses. Okay, so the MIS courses, 372 is a fall 1 course, 325 is a fall 2 course. So let's plug those in here first. MIS 372, MIS 325. Then you've got your MIS 322, which is a spring 1, and your 420, which is a spring 2. 420. And then finally your MIS 441, which is a summer 1 course. And again, on the management version, the HR student had an extra or had 1 less upper division business elective because they had 6 major courses. So we're just going to put an upper division business elective here. Now let's just double check these prerequisites. So for the MIS degree, most of the MIS classes just have a prerequisite of MIS 250 and admissions to the major. However, your global e-commerce also has a prerequisite of international business 380. So let's double check that. So iBusiness 380 is here. MIS 441 is here. So that one is good. And then for your MIS 420, you have quite extensive prerequisites. So you have 250, 325, 372 with a C or better. So we do have the 372 and the 325 built in first. However, you do need a C or better in these courses to move on to the 420. So that is something important to remember, that especially for MIS students, if you don't get a C or better in both of these classes, what this is going to do is it's going to delay your graduation. So not only will you have to wait for these courses to come back up in fall 23, but then you can't take the 420 until spring of 24. So very important that you focus on your major classes and doing well in those major classes. Okay, so that really is about it. So you've got your MIS courses built in, you've got that extra upper division business accounted for, and you're still graduating by spring 23. So that is the MIS plan to graduation.
Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen and kind of work through a graduation plan for a example accounting student. Okay, let's see here, share. Okay, So now hopefully you are seeing a worksheet and a long-term plan, okay? This is a long-term plan, very similar to the one used in BA 102, only it has the 7-week sessions broken apart here, which is really useful when you are trying to create a balanced schedule. We don't really advise more than 2 3-credit 7-week courses at the same time. It's just a lot of work for most students. Those 7-week class, 3-credit 7-week class typically takes about 15 hours of work per week. So you want to be really careful that we're balancing out that workload. You're going to need some 16-week classes too. And those probably about 10 to 12 hours of work per week as well. So we want to kind of add it up all at the end and make sure that we're reaching an appropriate work level and appropriate credit level for your particular situation. I do have students that take anywhere from 3 to 15 credits. 15 credits would definitely be more along the 50 to 60 hours of work per week range. So you want to be careful, make sure that's right for you and that you're a full-time student in that case. Okay. All right, so in this example here, I've got an accounting student who transferred in an associate's degree, and that DTA is fulfilling all of those UCOR requirements. So there's no credits needed here. This student also took or transferred in a BA 100 class, okay? So this student is like maybe roughly in the same spot as any other student taking a BA 102. Okay, so in this spring semester, I went ahead and highlighted what this student is taking, okay? And I'm just gonna start there, spring 21, and I'm gonna just type in what this student is taking. So they're taking HBM 101, which is 1 credit, BA 102, which is 1 credit. Oh. And last but not least, we're taking BA 212, which is 3 credits. In the second 7 weeks, the student is taking accounting 230. Their full session or 16-week class this spring is Math 201, and they're also taking Econ 101. So this student is really preparing to be admitted to the major this spring semester. So they will have all of these admittance to the major requirements complete, and they will be admitted to the major at the end of the semester, provided they pass all those classes with a C or better and have a 2.5 or better cumulative GPA. So that looks great. So the next semester, which will be summer 21, the student does want to take a full-time plan in the summer. So she's really going to start looking at prereqs at this point. Okay, so she's looking at BA 211. I did notice that it requires admittance to the major, so that would be available to her starting in the summer. And I just want to look down here and see what else is that BA 211 class required for. Looks like it is a prereq to IBIS 380, so we'll want to keep that in mind. And it looks like we also have Finance 325 and Management Ops 340. And both of those require Math 202 and Management Ops 215. So that's an interesting combination. Those are both math classes, so we might want to plan ahead there and separate those if we can. So obviously we need this accounting 231 pretty soon as well, right? Because we've got these accounting 330 coming up in the fall. You don't want to lose out on this one. So that really means that my top priority class here might in fact be the accounting 231. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that in here. We noticed that BA 211 is a prereq to IBIS 380, and BA 211 is offered in the second 7-week session, so that would actually work very well right here. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and just plug in the rest of this accounting rotation. That's really going to create that backbone for my schedule, right? So I have accounting 230, accounting 231, and now I'm going to plug in my 330 in the fall. my gosh. And I noticed that 338 here is also offered in the fall, second 7 weeks. Then, so let's update this. Okay, so also in my spring semester, I've got accounting 331. Yeah. And accounting 433. And I've got one class coming up here that is summer only. So I want to make sure that I'm planning on taking at least one class in the summer. And then fall will be my 439. All right. So based on the rotation, our fall 22 would be the earliest possible graduation for this student. So depending on, if she wants to try and graduate at that time and she wants to remain a full-time student, we can see, what else we can plug in here as we go along. So remember how I mentioned that math was a prereq for finance and management ops? So I'm going to suggest Math 202 here. And that way, these two math courses are consecutive, which often will help the student do better in the Math 202, so that would be a good idea. This student also wants to separate her remaining math classes, so she doesn't want too many math classes in one semester. So she's going to pop this Management Ops 215 right in here and separate it from Math 202. Okay, so that leaves me a little bit of space here. I have 2 spots. I could throw in something else since in the first 7 weeks, like BLAW 210 and the MIS 250. I like those in summer too because they're not a prereq to anything. So, well, I should say the BLAW 210 is not a prereq to anything. So we do have some flexibility. If the student doesn't have as much financial aid as she thought she would for summer and she wants to reduce that, she could certainly take the BLAW in the fall or some other semester down the road. Okay, so I've got another little spot here. So I'm going to look down at these prereqs and I'm going to look for something that she could still take in the second 7 weeks. And I'm seeing the Marketing 360. Or actually she could take the IBIS 380 as well. I'm going to put the Marketing 360 in there. Okay, and then she's got kind of this floater out here, Econs 102. This could be taken anytime, so kind of like that BLAW class, you'll note there's no prereqs for it. It's not a prereq for anything, so she could push that off if she needed to. If she needed more time for that Accounting 330 and 338, which are really challenging classes, she could certainly push off that Econs 102. Okay, so for spring, we're finally ready for Finance 325. And Management Ops 340. So that is fabulous. We finally have the math and the Management Ops 215. We have the econ and the accounting. We're finally ready for those 2 classes. So that's fabulous. This is going to be a pretty heavy semester. Those can be challenging classes. So I'm just going to leave it at the 12 credits right now. Okay, for summer, Accounting 335 is definitely happening. And here we have a little bit of space where we can see what's being offered. I'm going to put in that last business core, IBIS 380. And I'm going to look for maybe like an English 402 in a 6-week session, possibly in the summer, and the non-business ILE or IER. That's typically a class like Poli-Sci 418, Anthropology 316. Chat with your advisor if you're not sure what those options are. They are listed on the requirement report in IBIS. And again, I'm kind of looking for 6-week options in summer. If there's not a lot out there and it would be better for the student's schedule or finances, they could always bump this English 402 over to fall or back to spring. Okay, so those are more flexible summer offerings, which I really like. All right, so our final semester, fall 22, the no-brainer here is the Management 491 class. So that will work very well in that first 7 weeks. And then we still need this right here, which is our 2 upper division business electives. One of them needs to be MIS 441, IBIS 453, 482, 470, or Accounting 420. Those courses will finish that international experience. So without having to take an additional course. So we definitely recommend one of those. And I'm gonna, the IBIS 453, I happen to know is in the second 7 weeks. So I'm gonna pop that in here. And then for the other elective, I'm gonna throw in my Finance 345, always a popular class. And that students tend to really like, it's really helpful, it's real estate. And it's in the first 7 weeks. So that makes a nice fit in there. And we've got it, we've got everything we need. So now at this point, I would just kind of think about these flexible courses, make sure I kind of like this combination. I might shuffle things around a touch in the future, but for the most part, this is very solid working graduation plan to degree. You can see it's pretty balanced for the most part. Spring looks a little heavy, but keep in mind these are only 1 credit classes each, so this is just really more of a workload similar to 2 7-week classes instead of 3. And this schedule is really going to keep her on the fastest track possible because she'll have the accounting courses she needs and then all the other coursework needed to be admitted to the major in the spring and start that and take that BA 211 in the summer. I would say the BA 212 we could possibly bump to summer if that is too much for her in the spring. We'd have to look at that, but lots of options, a good working plan here, and definitely doable with those 4 resources that we talked about. All right, try your own plan. Send it to me. I'd be happy to take a look at it, or send it to your academic advisor, and we can make sure that things look good. But I have had many students create their own graduation plan successfully every semester, and I know that you can too, and I'm happy to help. So please do reach out if you have additional questions. All right, have a great rest of your day. And again, thanks for coming.